Good evening, everybody. Thank y'all for making the trip down, and actually greetings to those of you that are online watching. We are the Texas A&M University-Kingsville Trombone Choir. My name is Oscar Diaz, and I'm one of the trombone professors here at this great university. And this is a pretty special concert for a lot of reasons. But before I get into that, I'm going to introduce the composer to this first piece. This was its world premiere. Our graduate TA, or graduate assistant, Josh Gentile. He comes from Idaho, pretty far from Texas, right? So he's going to talk a little bit about his piece, because it's kind of neat the way he came up with this piece, and I'll kind of explain how the concert kind of ties together with his piece and the very last piece. So this is Mr. Josh Gentile.
Thank you, Dr. Diaz, for this incredible opportunity. Really fun to be able to conduct and compose music for this incredible group. This was a piece that I just wrote this past fall for this particular ensemble. It's sort of a reflection on my time in Kingsville so far, because as Dr. Diaz mentioned, I'm from Idaho and I did undergrad in Washington, so I'm not from these parts. And as you'll notice throughout this program, as Dr. Diaz will explain later, we sort of have bookend Mexican parties in D major. So you just heard the first one, which is my interpretation. We had some mariachi influences, and also some assertions of the Kingsville way, which is just go get them. You know, no matter what happens, you always work hard and do whatever you can to push forward. That's something I've learned in my time here. Some other influences as well. I had a class last semester on Bela Bartok that was taught by Dr. Lucas. It was a great class. I used some ideas from there, such as the axis theory, which is how I derived the key centers from there, as well as set theory, which we talked about with Dr. Sanchez in advanced analysis. So there's actually some tone row stuff going on, not a 12-tone row, but a 3-tone row. So that's how I came up with this piece. It was actually pretty easy to write once I had my thoughts organized, so it was very fun. Thank you, everyone, for doing such a great job on it. We're going to play it at ITF in Fort Worth. Really excited about that. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you.
So on this program, thinking about, I'll talk later about all the accolades that these wonderful students have done the past year, and specifically this semester. Kind of thinking about a program to tie things together for the future. Like Josh mentioned, we are going to be performing at the International Trombone Festival in Fort Worth, Texas, which is actually it's always in many different places. It's either out of the country or it's far away. So it's, I guess, close to our backyard, right? Dallas or Fort Worth. But and having these pieces of music, one of the things I love to do is I love to conduct. I love to conduct, I love to teach privately, I love all the stuff that my job entails. And so programming all these works, it's basically, if I had a title, I had to PC the title, like beyond, all this, expanding this, but it's basically the stuff that trombones aren't supposed to play. That's what this program is. It's trombones, the things they're not supposed to be playing because of the technique, the phrasing, the range, the musicality. There's so many different things in either a band transcription, orchestral transcription, sometimes choral transcriptions that a lot of instruments maybe can't do in a homogeneous group like this. So that's one of the biggest things that I wanted to do, is kind of put this together, showcase the talents of the students and the hard work. Everybody gets love in this concert. There's a lot of hard things, there's a lot of cool things to listen to, a lot of emotion in some of these pieces, and some really great transcriptions. They're not arrangements, they're transcriptions, and I'll explain about that later. So this next piece, another gentleman, he's student teaching right now, and he's going to be graduating, Mr. Saul Velez. He actually arranged this piece by McCartney, Paul McCartney, after the Beatles. He had his own band, but this is something that he arranged for this. Saul loves the Beatles, loves Paul McCartney, and he's gonna play his arrangement, or of course conduct his arrangement. So come on out. Where's Saul? There he is. He's gonna say a couple, because he arranged it, and I never even heard of this piece until he brought it to me.
So this is one of my, hello everybody. This is one of my favorite pieces from Paul McCartney's Ram album. It was Paul McCartney's biggest hit ever since he left the Beatles. So this is my favorite song from that album. There's a lot of intricate pieces, a lot of moving lines, and I thought it was the most appropriate for trombone choir because of that. So I hope you enjoy Uncle Albert and Admiral Halsey Melody. Thank you.
So you're going to hear a little bit of everything, right? From a fanfare to a pop tune. Now we're going to slow it down a little bit and kind of start with the first of the band transcriptions. Colonial Song. Probably one of the most famous, one of the most difficult pieces, in my opinion, that Percy Grainger, which is a very prolific band composer, has done, also a great pianist. And it's something that there's arrangements of this out, but there's only one special gentleman that can really, really make it happen. And when I mean transcription, I mean it's directly taken from the score and putting it so in the range or sometimes the extended range of the instrument. It's not an arrangement. The only thing different is that it's a different key signature is what it is, right? And the person that transcribed this is Dr. Paul Hageman. I know he's up in the balcony, and he, of course, he's one of my professors back in the day, and he recently retired here from the School of Music. He was a director of School of Music, director of jazz band, and at one time he taught everything. And one of the biggest things that he did was arrangements, and he loves arranging. So he always asks me, what do you want me to arrange? And I'm like, oh. So I owe this man a lot of briskets, a lot of ribs, a lot of whatever he can think of, because he also arranged the final piece. And these two pieces that he arranged are probably the most difficult pieces that I've ever had to teach and conduct. I know they've had to play because it's very, very difficult to do this. So I hope you enjoy this rendition of Colonial Song. If you notice, it's a different setup than a normal trombone choir. I kind of have it set up like a band in a way, because one, it's a very large ensemble, and I do this for Colonial Song, and I'm going to do it for La Fiesta Mexicana later on. So I hope you enjoy Colonial Song. Takes a lot out of you. It may seem slow, but it ain't easy to do that. I promise, right? It's very beautiful to hear something like that played on our instrument, right? It kind of shows what the students can do when they work on their craft, work hard. Just like kind of Josh said, coming down, you know, one of the biggest things in the school, you always work. No matter what's put in front of you, you always keep going. Figure it out, right? That's how real life is. Okay, so you're gonna see a bunch of different ensembles, right? You saw full trombone choir. Now we're gonna start to make it a little bit smaller. Of course, then we end at the end, we'll have, of course, a huge party with La Fiesta Mexicana. So this next piece they're going to be playing is called Exit, Pursuit by a Bear. And one of the coolest things about being here for 17 years, yes, 17 years, is that when I program certain pieces of music, these groups are able to play any one of them. About, I think, 3 years ago, the group played at Midwest Band Orchestra Clinic, and we did a concert. We didn't play this particular piece, but my top ensemble played this particular piece, pretty new, and it's a great piece of music, and it's challenging. And so at the beginning of the year, we have auditions, and we split the ensembles, and we kind of figure things out. And so this is the piece that Professor Rodriguez picked out, and I know some of the students really, really enjoyed hearing this. So they're going to be playing Exit, Pursuit by a Bear by Andrew Skaggs, and I'm going to introduce Mr. We call him Profe, Jorge Rodriguez. He's going to come in and conduct this wonderful group. That's a really cool piece. Andrew Skaggs has actually written another trombone piece that's called Lake Effects, which is really nice as well. He's a well-known composer, written a lot of things, and this is one of his newer works. It's a lot of fun to put together. So this next piece is by one of my favorite composers, Gustav Holst, who happens to be a trombone player. That's why his trombone parts are pretty cool in the band world. And he wrote, and before the piece that, hopefully the guys will come out in a minute, the piece that they're going to be playing called The Perfect Fool, it's one of his failed ballets, right? And I'd never heard this piece until I was at the University of Texas in Austin finishing one of my degrees, and we played this. And it was just, I fell in love with this piece, but it was really, really difficult. And the arranger of this piece, or the transcriber, it's kind of half and half, Jay Friedman, who's still the principal trombonist in the Chicago Symphony. His arrangements are always really difficult. It's basically a carbon copy, but it's just kind of split of the actual piece. And these fine gentlemen here, there's 16 of them playing. It is an octet. Typically, most trombone pieces are written in octet form. Sometimes you see quartet, sometimes 12, it just depends. But 8 in octet is usually the good number, which usually has 6 tenor trombone players and 2 basses. Earlier I should have, I know Shorty had the contrabass, you might have seen it, and the fanfare, the big, big bass trombone. I'll show it to y'all probably later on, because he's playing it again, I believe. So we're gonna play this wonderful piece called The Perfect Fool, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, now we're going to have our smaller ensembles, octets, which is basically no conductor on these. They rehearse, typically the way we do things is they rehearse on their own, and then I hear them either once or twice a week, kind of what they're doing, kind of check up on them myself, and Professor Rod back there, we kind of check up on them. Gives them a chance to kind of take leadership and ownership of their own ensemble, making sure that they're going to be educators, performers, that kind of thing, so they need to take ownership of that. This piece is a great piece, La Reconquista. It's a kind of a Spanish-style piece written by Markel, who's written a lot of trombone pieces. He's a trombone player. He graduated from Columbus State, still's up in that area, and he writes a lot of pieces for brass, for band, for orchestra, but mainly our trombone idiom. And these fine people here are going to perform for y'all, and they're going to do it from memory, which is always impressive. So I hope y'all enjoy. All right, that was our gold octet. Now we're going to be hearing our blue octet. And this next piece, there was a lot of heart and soul written into this piece of music entitled Hirosh. It should be coming down soon. And the composer, Stephen Verhelst, he was part of this trombone class in Europe. And Hirosh was one of the members in that class. And he had passed away. And to honor him, he wrote this beautiful piece of music, of course entitled Hirosh. And you can hear it. You can hear a personality, you can hear sorrow, sadness, you can hear joy, and you can really hear this in this composer's writing. And it's a great piece. We played it once before at the Midwest Clinic with a different group, and I thought with this particular group of musicians, I know that they would do a fine job with this wonderful work. So let's see. Here comes the blue octet. that was a first, right? Like I said, it was indeed a false alarm. Cop came, police checked, make sure everything was safe, so everything's okay. So alarm's been turned off, so the show must go on. 2 more pieces to go. So, all right. All right, so this next piece is extremely fun to play in the orchestra as a bass trombone player. The Prokofiev movement 2 in this particular suite, the Dance of the Knights, or the Montagues and the Capulets. It's like the old Shakespearean play with Romeo and Juliet. And this particular thing is just, it's really, there's a whole suite of this, and it's extremely difficult. And these fine gentlemen are going to be performing the second movement in this suite of this. And it's the South Texas Trombone Song. It's our top octet that we have here. And hope you all enjoy this. And then after that, we're going to reset, take a little second, and finish with our last piece. So, hope you all enjoy. Hopefully no more fire alarms will go off. So we're getting to the end of the concert. As we're setting up, and I have my trusty iPad because there's a lot of things that I know we've spent a lot of your time already, of course, with the fire alarm. Of course, that was not planned. So, but I do want to, before we end the concert, just kind of talk a little bit about the successes of the students, if you don't know, and recognize them, because there was a lot, and we are actually losing a lot of students too, to student teaching and graduation, which is great, right? It's a fantastic thing. They're here. I call this the best, worst job in the world, or the worst, best job in the world, simply because they come here, they do such a great job. I get to know them for however long they're here, and then they leave, right? It's but it's also a proud moment for any professor. So, as they start getting set up, the first thing I'm going to talk about is early in, I want to say November, December, these three gentlemen submitted a solo recording for the Big 12 trombone solo competition that's usually held at Texas Tech. People from all over the country submit on a piece of music, and they are judged by esteemed judges from wherever they ask. And there were 3 students that were selected this year. 2 of them were selected as finalists, 2 bass trombone players, and 1 tenor player was selected as alternate. So basically there's a tenor trombone competition, there's a bass trombone competition. There's 3 finalists in each one, and in the bass trombone composition, 2 of them were from A&M Kingsville, which is really cool, right? So I'm gonna kind of recognize these gentlemen. Where's Josh Gentile back there? He was one of the finalists. And then right next to him, Mr. Matthew Gomez, also. And then up at the front, Mr. Xavier Esparza was an alternate, which is awesome. Okay. And then we'll fast forward to the American Trombone Workshop competition. Basically, it's a big workshop that's held by the Army Band up in Washington, D.C., and there's a lot of competitions that have been held. And on this one, in particular, there's a trombone quartet competition. And trombone quartets from all these different schools, big schools, smaller schools, of course, our school, and they're judged. And the winner gets to play a full concert in Washington, D.C. Well, these gentlemen, they always announce a winner, and they announce runners-up. These gentlemen this year were the runners-up, and they had a fantastic recording. The gentleman that beat them was a great recording too. I knew, because I got to see the competitions. They actually put it on YouTube, and I was watching. I could, kind of do my own judging, and I knew it was going to be between these 2 groups. It was really, really tight. And this is a group by, where's El Profe George Rodriguez? He was kind of the leader of this group, kind of coaching. Also, a graduate assistant, Mr. Matthew Gallegos. And then, let's see, where is he? Where's Guillermo Navarro back there? Say hi, and Mr. Jose Astorga back there on the bass. Contrabass. Show him the contrabass. That's the contrabass. Ooh, it's big, right? So they were runners-up. This is a huge deal for the university for doing that. Then we had a separate trombone quartet submit a recording to the International Trombone Festival. Now this one, trombones, quartets from all over the world submit. And they were named top 3 finalists. And they're going to compete for the gold at the end of May. And this fine group, which they've actually they were the first alternate, I believe, 2 years ago also. So these guys here, they're the was it Kaizen Quartet? Kaizen? Correct me if I'm wrong. All right, gotcha. Kaizen. And that's Carlos Garcia there. Say hi. Next to him, Christian Cantu. Say hi. And then Nick Castillo. And then Mr. Luis Cadena. Where's he at? There he is. So they're going to be competing. I know there's a group from Columbus State, which has a fantastic trombone studio, and then another group from Europe. About 3 years ago, a group from A&M Kingsville won that competition. So hopefully, they're going to be working hard, and I mean, I'm really proud of them. To me, to be named is a win, and it's amazing for them. So, also, the full choir here, like I said earlier, was accepted this year to perform at the ITF International Trombone Festival this year in Fort Worth. They're all going to play. It's going to be a shorter program. Some of the pieces from here. We're going to be opening for the great trombones at Costa Rica, which is a fantastic group. I saw them. They were the first quartet that I saw them play Latino music with trombone quartet. And also another Latin American trombone quartet from Argentina, the Viento Sur, and they're awesome, right? It's going to be fun to open for them and get to hear that. So I'm really, really proud of them. So please give them a round of applause. They work so hard and they do so well. So one of the last things here is I'm going to recognize who's leaving. This is their last concert, I guess, for a trombone choir here, right? And I'm going to either student teaching or they're graduating and moving on to either grad school or they're going to teach or, like I said, student teaching. First one is the Abel Garza. Where you at, Abel? Abel. Right. Mr. Marco Villarreal. Where you at, Marco? Andre Martinez, there. And Carlos Garcia, there he is. Luis Cadena. Xavier Esparza. One of our grad students, Mr. Ray Arango. Where you at? There's Raymond. Right, and then Amanda Esteves. Right, y'all saw Saul Velez earlier. Where's Saul? Right. We do have another student. He's not playing, Christian Palacios. He's also, I don't know if he's here, may not, but he's listening. We miss you, right? So, did I miss anybody? There's a lot. I'll try to write them down. Everybody here? I think we're good, right? Don't worry, I didn't forget. I didn't forget about him. He's right here, I promise. I wrote it right there. So right now, as of right now, we know of 2 students that are going on, and of course, one is a student and one was a former student. Carlos has been accepted to the University-Texas at Austin. He's going to be pursuing his master's degree there. Okay. We're, of course, awaiting some other results from all the grad schools, and it's always a tricky situation. But one of them I'm going to really, really miss dearly is our professor there, Mr. Jorge Rodriguez there. I've known him forever, since he was, what? How long have I known you? 17. Since he's about 17 years old. He's an old man now, you know. So he came here, got his degree, and then he went off to UT Austin to get a master's degree. And then he came back to help teach all these wonderful students to help me out. And now I told him, when he got the job, I was like, all right, professor, you're fired after 2 years. And he just looks at me, he's like, yeah, because you're going to go off and get a doctorate. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. So this is the year he's going on. He is going to be the teaching assistant at the University-Texas at Austin. And he's going to be leaving, right? But they always come back, so he'll come back, I'm sure, right? So we will miss him dearly. He's taught a lot of the younger students here, and he's helped me out with a lot of things when I can't do something because of family or whatever. He's there, I got you. Don't worry about it. And he does. So we will miss him, and everybody give him a round of applause. So, all right, I had to write all that down because I forget a lot of stuff lately. So, but once again, thank you so much for coming, and of course dealing with the false alarm and sticking around for the last 2 pieces. So this last piece, La Fiesta Mexicana, in the program I made a boo-boo. It's not Alfred Reed, it's Owen Reed. I don't know why I was always thinking of different composers, but it is Owen Reed, the composer. And the cool thing, we heard Josh's piece, right, of his he wrote a piece kind of depicting of what he's experienced in Kingsville. Well, that's exactly what Owen Reed did whenever he was studying in Mexico. He studied in Mexico City, and there's just 3-movement piece. We're only going to play the last movement because it is a long work. And it's one of the first pieces I heard and played as a young trombonist in the band world. And the first movement is a prelude and Aztec dance, which it has a prelude in Mexico. You're going to hear, if you've been to Mexico City, there's a lot of Catholic churches, right? And that's one of the things that he saw is, of course, the faith they had in the Catholic religion, and of course also just the kind of street parades and things that they did. So that, the first movement depicts of prelude and Aztec dance, of course, Native Americans in Mexico. Second movement is entitled Mass, right? And that is, you can hear the chants of the priests, you can hear all these different things that are happening. And then in the last movement is Carnival, right? Carnival, it's basically a party. And he puts all these things, if you go and listen to these pieces of music, he puts these melodies in the last movement. And it's real beautifully sculptured together. You're gonna hear a little bit of mariachi, you're gonna hear a little bit of kind of Native American rhythms and grooves till it finally climaxes. And of course, this is a piece that I've always wanted to be done, and it was also done, of course, by Dr. Paul Hageman, who also did Colonial Song, which is this piece. Like I said, it is a transcription. You know, there's things tweaked, but it's a lot of stuff in here that is difficult, but it's also a lot of fun to play, right? And of course, it is difficult to conduct. So thank you all so much for being here. It means a lot to see people here in the audience. Thank you, those chiming in and being patient with us. Hope you enjoy La Fiesta Mexicana by Owen Reed.